And now I'm talking to Dr. Fiona Larkin. Fiona, how's it going? Fiona, could you introduce yourself to our listeners first, please?
Hi, yes. Hi, it's Fiona Larkin from the Centre for Global Health at Trinity, and I'm also involved with the Trinity International Development Initiative.
And we're having a talk today about Ebola in West Africa. Could you just introduce the talk to us first, please?
Okay, so our speaker today is Professor Sam McConkey from RCSI, the Royal College of Surgeons of Ireland, who's an expert in infectious diseases and particularly in Ebola and other relevant illnesses. He is going to speak about the emergence of the illness and how it can be transmitted.
And could you tell us about you're a lecturer in global health, are you?
That's right. My background is in medical anthropology, so I would look at issues of global health as they affect general public. So, for instance, I'd be more interested not in how a disease is transmitted, but in the social issues around a disease, because the way we would look at it is. We know how a disease can be transmitted, but how people respond to that disease, or, for instance, with things like HIV, how people think about it, what they believe about it, what they might do because of their beliefs, etc. And then the Centre for Global Health is really involved in making sure that the health systems treating people are as strong as they can be, that they have enough staff, that they have all the equipment they need, that the structure is in place to deal with people with infectious diseases or with any illness.
And how many courses do you work with in Trinity College, like college courses?
So I run the master's programme in global health, so the whole thing. So on that programme there's 14 modules, so 14 classes that the students have to attend, and then they also have to write a thesis at the end of it. So I manage that programme.
That's very interesting, yeah. And you're involved with the TIDI as well, the Trinity International Development Initiative. Could you tell us a bit about that, please?
So the Trinity International Development Initiative was established to bring together all of the work on campus that's being done in relation to international development. So that means from, whether it's in the medical school or the School of Nursing or the Department of Social Policy, any work across campus that's being done that's relevant to international development is kind of coordinated, or TIDI, the Trinity International Development Initiative, coordinates it or is an umbrella body for it. So if you like, they promote it, they promote all that work, they link people together that might be interested in the same areas, because Trinity is a big place, so we don't all know each other, but we can link to each other through TIDI. And they also run some PhD modules, training for students that want to work in international development, and they coordinate the management of that with the Centre for Global Health.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I'll be talking to Sam anyway after his speech. Okay, Fiona, thanks very much. Okay. And now I'm talking to Professor Sam McConkey, head of the Department of International Health and Tropical Diseases in the Royal College of Surgeons of Ireland. Sam, how's it going? Sam, you just gave a talk here in the Trinity International Development Initiative, Trinity College. I read a report yesterday, someone from TROCRA, the development agency TROCRA, said that we have 5 weeks to sort this Ebola outbreak out. Would you agree with that?
I think the window for really preventing it spreading widely is getting narrow and narrower. So if it's unfortunately been growing really rapidly. Every 35 days or so it's doubling in numbers of people who are affected, number of people dying. And once it gets to a certain huge scale, then it becomes very difficult to stop it. So it's a bit like a wave or a fire. You know how if you have a little fire, you can throw a blanket on it, it'll stop. But once the fire gets affecting a whole street or a whole city, it becomes much more difficult to put out. So the fire is the best metaphor, and unfortunately the scale of it is already very, very challenging. I can go into some of the numbers if you want. So we're looking in Liberia perhaps at about 2,000 or 3,000 cases every week. And unfortunately, the Americans, Obama, are building 19 hospitals, which will each take 100 people. That's 1,900 beds in hospitals. But that 1,900 beds won't be enough for the 3,000 people. So we won't be able, if we don't do something quickly, we won't be able to build enough isolation beds to prevent it spreading further and causing more people to be infected.
Yeah, and if just leaving aside the people who are in quarantine at the moment, like, are we achieving like say in Liberia, like is it actually spreading much amongst people who are in quarantine, even though I mean, in the general public, like?
Yeah, that's exactly the problem. You've hit it dead on. So there are many cases who are in the general public, in the community, who haven't been diagnosed. They might be feeling a bit sick with flu-like symptoms, but they're still out there in their own home with their own family and doing their normal thing, maybe even running away from their home to other villages where they feel they won't maybe get put into quarantine. Some people are scared of being locked up in a quarantine situation, so they run away, and then they have their family members touching them, and then they're spreading Ebola. It turns out the data in Liberia suggests that each person with Ebola who's not in quarantine spreads it to 3 more cases. That for every 1 case now, there's between 2 and 3 family relatives or carers who are catching Ebola from it. And as long as it's still growing in that way, with each case leading to 3 new cases, it's going to keep growing.
So it is very contagious, but like, is it true that like it's not the same, but it's kind of in our way comparable to malaria? Not everyone that gets malaria, for example, dies of malaria. Not everyone who gets Ebola dies.
That's right. Well, there's 2 separate things there. One, it'll talk about the contagiousness first. So let's compare it to HIV and AIDS. To catch HIV virus, you really have to get very intimate with someone. You really need exchange of sexual fluid, if you like, or exchange of blood transfusion, sharing needles. So catching HIV, you do have to be very intimate with another person to catch HIV. Whereas something like TB, on the other hand, all you have to be is like we are, sitting in the same room, sharing air together for 6 hours, and you can catch TB. Ebola is somewhere in between. It can be sexually acquired, but even kissing or touching someone's saliva, touching someone's tears, even touching their sweat, at an advanced stage of disease, the sweat is infectious, the saliva is infectious. If they vomit, the vomit's infectious. If they have diarrhea, the diarrhea is infectious, particularly as they're at a late stage in the illness, when the virus has taken over their body. So Ebola is more contagious than HIV, but it's less contagious than tuberculosis, for example, which is spread through the air, or other contagious diseases would be measles or flu. So Ebola is not near as contagious as flu or as contagious as measles, but it's a lot more contagious than HIV. And then the other question you asked was about the mortality rate, about death. And it is true that there have been many people survived with Ebola, and that's with good intensive care, and there are some experimental therapies. But at present in Sierra Leone, it seems about 70% of people are dying with it. In a Western setting where you've got good intensive care, I think the death rate is much less.
Okay. I just have 2 more questions. You talked a lot today, not exclusively, but a lot about the biology of it, like of Ebola. If people want to find out more about the whole biology side of it, where would you recommend the best place to look at that would be? Like on the internet, like you're an expert. I don't expect everyone to go asking you all the time, but go on, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, there are some very good virology textbooks. There are virology courses. Fields Virology is probably the most famous virology textbook that I've used to understand virology. That's and
Ebola is in that because Ebola's out a couple of thousand years, isn't it?
Yeah. It's been known about since 1966, so it's only about 40 years that we've known about it. Ebola is in it, but it's not freely available on the internet. It's something you have to buy. The other reliable sources on the internet might be the American Center for Disease Control. It's called the CDC, has a very good website, and it tends to recognise the importance of biology. So I would say the CDC is a good. When I'm trying to find out about a new disease, I use a very good library online called PubMed, PUBMED, and that gives you an index of all of the medical and scientific articles that have ever been written on a topic. So it's a search engine. You can put in Ebola, and then it'll come up with all the articles by scientists and doctors that have ever been written on Ebola, and you can search through those articles.
Yeah. Just to finish up, I know the media, like you're not an expert in the media. I know you're in the media sometimes, but it's unfortunate that like it's only the Ebola outbreak, the latest one's only really been covered since a couple of people in the West have been infected. So, so you have kind of extremes of it. Some people panicking, well, in the media anyway. I don't know anyone in the public personally panicking, but some people in the media, but panicking, and then a lot of people have no interest in it. But like it'll really be telling over the next month or two, like if this is progressing. If it's progressing as fast as it is, won't it?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good news that I'd like to share with your listeners. One is that in Senegal, they had a case spread there, and the Senegalese have stopped its spread. Similarly, there was a case went to Nigeria, and there were about 19 secondary cases, but they've also stopped its spread in Nigeria. So my point is that well-organised West African countries have been effective at preventing Ebola becoming rampant in Senegal and in Nigeria. And there's also a case in Mali. So people shouldn't be worried about this going rampant and wild in Ireland or in Texas or in Britain. And as you know, the British have actually repatriated some British aid workers deliberately back to London to look after them, very consciously, to provide good quality care to their aid worker. And that's happened in Germany and Norway and Switzerland and France and Spain and America. Many countries are deliberately caring for their people who are sick with Ebola, so by deliberately repatriating them to their own country. So that shows that we're confident that this won't spread widely in Ireland. But this epidemic is having a devastating effect in West Africa. It's so far killed, about 5,000 people we know of, probably more likely 10 or 15,000 already. And more frighteningly, it's actually growing and doubling every 36 days. So if we keep doing what we're doing now, we'll have double that number of deaths in 36 days. And then after another 36 days it'll be double again. And that obviously leads to an escalating number of cases. It could potentially wipe out a big chunk of the population in Sierra Leone, Liberia and Guinea. It'll destroy the economies there. There's no one to do the work, no one to make the food, no one to do the work of society. Similarly, it'll destroy tourism to Africa, it'll destroy business. So it's going to have a huge economic impact, not just on West Africa, but even around the world when people are taking extra precautions to avoid it. So I think the scale of this current outbreak in West Africa is huge. It's killing a lot of people and a huge economic impact.
Just on a technical clarification there, before we finish, when you say every 35 days the number of people infected is what's going to double, is that like talking about new infections, or the overall number is being doubled, like 3 or 10,000 or 5,000? You know what I mean? Like
it's the number of new infections each week. So if there was 100 cases last week and it doubles, that means after 36 days there'd be 200 infections, new cases per week, and then after another 36 days there'd be 400 newly infected people in that week. So the number of cases is number of new cases is doubling every 36 days. Now, so we need to do something to stop that. Otherwise, as I said, thousands and maybe potentially millions of people could succumb to this infection.
Okay, Sam, thanks very much. I hope I won't have to talk to you again about it, and I'll be sorry down the next few months.
No problem, thanks.
Thanks very much.